Welcome back. As the current state of our economy continues to change, the organization Jobs for the Future says they're committed towards strengthening the workforce and individual success. Ikeia Miller and Myriam Sullivan of JFF join me to discuss the importance of opportunity through apprenticeship and community college. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes,
So,
thank you.
so can you tell me about your organization, JFF?
Sure. Happy to talk more about JFF. We've been around for the last 40 years. So, JFF, or Jobs for the Future, we are a national nonprofit that drives transformation in the American workforce and education systems, really working toward equitable economic advancement for all. So at JFF, we design, we scale, we influence, and invest in solutions that help people advance, build regional economies, and redesign education and workforce systems. And some examples of our work include our Best Bets platform. So that's a scale strategy where we provide custom services and user-friendly tech tools to help students find career pathways that suits their interests and fills regional employer needs. Another example of how we influence comes from our policy work. An example of their work is really the Congressional Staffing Network that JFF convenes and leads, where we support knowledge sharing among congressional staffers concerning workforce related education, training, and employment policy issues. And finally, our ETF is where we invest in innovative tech solutions that really focus on providing opportunities for the more than 75 million American adults who struggle to find meaningful employment. So at JFF, the ultimate goal of our work is to change the systems so that they're more equitable and ensure that everyone, regardless of your zip code or background, can pursue learning, training, and work for a family sustaining career.
Thank you. So I understand that your organization focuses on basically non traditional forms of education to promote economic advancement. Can you tell me more about that and the importance of it?
Yeah, so we support a variety of organizations in offering non traditional forms of programming, such as short term credentialing. We do that in a variety of ways. And the most critical piece of that work is supporting community colleges and being able to work closely with employers to be able to offer training that allows for it to take place in a short amount of time, but then connect back to an entry level role. An example of that work, when we're looking at the recent Google certification that came out, we partner with a variety of community colleges to be able to offer that IT support credential. Um, and that's when you think about how the state of learning is going, and it's not as traditional as it once was. It's not just a 4-year degree. And so it's like so important that we're partnering with organizations who are looking to offer what we deem as non-traditional, but it's really traditional at this point, programming.
Now,
And
in regards to the Bronx, this is really needed. Can you explain why it's crucial to focus on economic advancement rather than just employment through non career types of jobs?
Yeah. Oh, Miriam, we're going to add something there.
no, please go ahead, IKEA, and then I'll jump in.
Got you. So, as Miriam mentioned earlier, our philosophy doesn't apply just to the Bronx. It's what we believe that everyone should have access to, no matter what zip code they're in. But when we're looking at the Bronx and we're thinking about everything that we've been through as a community, not just prior to the pandemic, but also within the pandemic, there's even more of a need that we're thinking not just about how do we find a job, but how are we finding jobs that are allowing for us to also advance across time. Within that, it's important that we're thinking about where are there credentials that are allowing us to not only be able to come into a space, be able to learn, but then be able to apply those back to a career and then being able to come back to continue our education and our learning and ensuring that we're not just staying at our entry level position, but that we're continuously working up.
And part of that work, what I wanted to share earlier, really falls in the work at JFF, where we focus on apprenticeship and work based learning. So at JFF, my body of work really centers around finding high quality pathways for adult and young adult learners. And the Center for Apprenticeship and Work Based Learning was established back in 2017, really to provide a centralized hub and resources and expertise for the field. So college is a great path for some, but it's not the only path to family sustaining wage. So there's a huge body of work that really looks at apprenticeship, which is a highly structured experiential approach to building skills. And so it's a combination of on-the-job training with related instruction that really helps workers learn both like the classroom theory, but also the practical aspects of work.
And what are some examples of careers and skills you can learn via trade school slash apprenticeship?
Oh, there's a variety. Before and in preparing for this conversation, I looked up the more than 1,000 apprenticeable occupations that are available to folks, where it's not all in the trades, but people can join apprenticeships focused on pharmacy technicians or I was talking to an organization that were building out engineering apprenticeships. So there's just a huge variety of options for people to really build out their skills. In the Bronx, we're working with an organization called The Door, where they provide a bridge program to help people get ready for apprenticeships, to get ready for career or even post-secondary. And they have a program called Tech Bridge, where it's a 5-week course that provides young adults with an opportunity to strengthen their skills. Within the 5 weeks, then they move on to, if they need to build out their TABE certifications, they do that, but they do all of that in preparation for connecting to Perscalis, who provides an IT apprenticeship and tech training that's 15-week long, where they receive industry credentials and connect to employers. So we do a lot of work, and there are lots of variety in terms of occupational pathways for people.
And I also just want to highlight that for those who are interested, particularly within the Bronx, there's opportunities not only, as Myriam has already mentioned, but when we're thinking about SUNY and what they're offering at their educational opportunity centers, there's also opportunities to be able to take short-term free of charge credentials around becoming an EMT, a CNA, a home health aide, or even a barber. So just understanding what's happening within our local community as well. And all those programs are offered at free of charge.
Now, I think for a long time there was a stigma around attending trade school or, just this idea of not going to four-year school, going to college. And the careers that were attached to those trade schools and apprenticeships. Why do you think that is? And do you feel that we've actually moved forward from that?
Yeah, when I think about that question, it makes me think of like how we deem the American dream to be and what we envision for our children, right? We think that ultimately the pathway to success is getting a 4-year degree that leads us straight into a job. And as we think about what's being offered now, that's not always the best case scenario. There are opportunities now where we're able to go and get credentials or programs, as mentioned earlier, that do lead to high wage earning. And within that, I think that there's one part of that is like what we view as the traditional pathway. And then the other side of that is that oftentimes previously, I think that we were suggesting programs that were probably targeting not necessarily those who go to college. And that's not the case. Everyone is able to take place in some type of program that offers some types of high learning. It's not just for those who typically go to college.
And I'll add to that, around the apprenticeship pathways, there are some really impressive and strong outcomes for workers and learners. $70,000 average salary for people who complete apprenticeship. Apprenticeship programs can last 1 to 6 years. 94% of apprentices stay with their employers after completing their program. So there is a stigma, but I think awareness of the promise and the potential is important to destigmatize a certain pathway.
Now, so many people look into getting into the professional world and receive higher education, feel pressure to attend four-year school, as we mentioned. Can you tell me about the opportunities attached to community college? And can you just quickly say that because we're almost running out of time?
Yeah, so community colleges, typically we're used to them offering some type of short-term credentials, some type of certificate or a 2-year degree. I think that there's a lot of opportunities that are tied to community colleges, aside from the fact that, one, they're cheaper sometimes than our 4-year degree programs, but that they also allow us to get in, out. It's a little bit more flexible when we're thinking about all the things that we have going on in our lives, whether that's working or taking care of a family. And then it's also one piece. So like you can go to a community college, and that doesn't mean that you just stop there. You can always either go straight into the workforce, or you can continue on and go into a 4-year college if that's something that you choose to do.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about the resources you offer and just where can people go to find them?
Sure. So you can visit us at jff.org, where we have a variety of services and options and information about how to connect to the work that Ikeia shared, or even our apprenticeship work. So that's jff.org.apprenticeship. But furthermore, there are tons of resources within your state at dol.newyork.gov, where you can learn more about apprenticeships if you're interested, where you can get an overview about how to become an apprentice, and go from there.
Okay, and then I guess my last question, very quickly, what advice would you give to somebody who's currently undecided about which path they should take?
I would say talk to people. I think that we ultimately sometimes think that our biggest network, or the people who are going to get us in somewhere into the door, are located not within our own community. Maybe they're in Manhattan, maybe they're somewhere else. But truly, there are great people within the Bronx who are doing amazing things. So I would just recommend that you're reaching out if there's a career that you're interested in, that you're asking questions. There are so many programs that New York City offers to be able to get internship experience. So if that's an opportunity for you, then logging into those and being able to take place in those. And it's really just learning as much as you can as early as possible.
And I'll echo that. Information is power. We're so passionate about this work. But information is power, and talk to as many people as you can.
Thank you both so much for joining me to discuss this very important topic. That's all for our show today. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Kibin Alleyne, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time.